The turbulent waters of the Red Sea have become a growing maritime threat, escalating with ruthless precision. In recent months, commercial vessels have increasingly become prime targets in a sophisticated and violent campaign carried out by Houthis forces. These attacks are not random acts of piracy, but rather well-coordinated military-style assaults that combine maritime guerrilla tactics with modern drone warfare. The assaults typically begin under the veil of early dawn or the cover of dusk, times when visibility is low and the crew least expects an ambush. Small, fast-moving boats, often indistinguishable from local fishing vessels at a distance, approach the target ship at high speed. Manned by armed Houthis fighters, these boats circle the larger vessel like wolves stalking their prey. Within moments, they unleash a barrage of rocket-propelled grenades, also called RPGs, and small arms fire, aiming at the bridge, engines, and other critical control points. While the ship is under attack from the sea, the threat escalates from above. Bomb-laden drones controlled remotely from miles away dive toward the ship in a series of one-way unmanned aerial system strikes. These unmanned aerial vehicles are loaded with explosives and guided with deadly precision toward key areas of the vessel. The resulting explosions echo across the sea, disabling communications, igniting fires, and in some cases, blowing holes below the waterline. Under such relentless assault, the crew often has no choice but to issue distress calls and abandon ship. In several chilling incidents, once the crew flees, whether by lifeboat or by jumping into the sea, Houthis fighters board the crippled vessel. The ships are sometimes looted, repurposed, or simply left to drift until they sink beneath the waves. Just a reminder, these modern ships are designed not to sink. While no ship is truly unsinkable, watertight compartments, created by internal bulkheads, play a crucial role in helping vessels survive damage. These compartments isolate flooding and limit the spread of water when the hull is breached. Here's how they work. These are interior walls within the ship's hull that divide it into separate sections. Let's take a look at the watertight compartments. When these bulkheads are sealed watertight, they prevent water from passing freely between compartments if one area of the hull is damaged. Explosives are typically positioned at key points, mainly around the bow and in sections 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the ship. When all of these charges detonate, they can bring down even a modern cargo ship in just a few hours or even minutes. Structural failure caused by repeated explosions and missile strikes eventually compromises the ship's integrity. The vessel sank with bow first, then the stern stood almost 90 degrees as shown in the animation. For instance, the Greek-operated cargo ship Eternity Sea was attacked while en route to this canal by Houthis militants based in Yemen. At least 4 crew members were killed and several others were injured. The attack forced the crew to abandon the vessel, which drifted badly damaged before eventually sinking into the Red Sea. But why are the Houthis so difficult to defeat and destroy, even with US military air superiority? The answer lies in their strategic control and the complex geography of Yemen. The Houthi dominate the northwestern regions, including the capital Sanaa, while the internationally recognized Yemen government holds the southern and eastern areas, with Aden serving as its temporary capital. The territorial divisions are stark. The light green areas represent forces aligned with the international government, while the dark green regions are controlled by al-Qaeda-linked groups. Finally, the brown areas mark Houthi-controlled territory, which crucially includes access to the Red Sea, a key factor in their resilience and ability to disrupt global trade routes. One of their most effective strategies is the use of mobile missile and drone launchers. Instead of relying on fixed launch sites that can be easily targeted, they mount short-range ballistic missiles and drones on trucks, allowing them to fire and relocate quickly before being detected. This approach makes preemptive strikes far more difficult and reduces the effectiveness of traditional air campaigns. Their weapon stockpiles are also scattered across rugged terrain rather than concentrated in a few locations. By decentralizing their arsenals, they minimize the damage of large-scale bombing raids and ensure they always have access to weapons, even after repeated attacks. But the US has these $12 billion strike group that are patrolling the seas, so let's take a look at how these work. A typical carrier strike group might comprise of 5 to 7 of these ships. At the center sits the aircraft carrier. These carriers can accommodate a maximum of 130 fighter jets. Flanking each side are 4 destroyers. They could be the Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, predominantly used for anti-air warfare. Leading the battleship at the front is a Ticonderoga-class cruiser. These ships are multi-mission, covering air warfare, undersea warfare launching torpedoes, naval surface fire support, and surface warfare. At the back is the frigate class, generally serving as a light escort with a focus on anti-surface and anti-air roles, with a lesser degree of capability than larger ships. Depending on the mission, nuclear-powered Virginia-class submarines animated in our recent videos can also be added to the carrier strike group to seek out and destroy hostile surface ships and submarines. Now let's take a closer look at how the US attack plans works in Yemen and how the Houthis strike back. It all starts with monitoring Houthi activities. US intelligence agencies rely on MQ-9 Reaper drones and satellites to keep a constant watch on rebel movements. Through surveillance and reconnaissance, they pinpoint key targets, including missile launch sites, command and control centers, and weapon storage facilities. Once the targets are identified, military forces begin strategic deployment. Aircraft carriers and warships move into position, creating a formidable presence in the region. For example, the USS Carl Vinson joins the USS Harry S. Truman, strengthening the U.S. naval presence in the Red Sea to deter further aggression and protect vital shipping lanes. Essentially, an entire strike group is assembled, ready for action. When the order is finally given, the first wave of attacks begins. Tomahawk missiles and other precision-guided munitions are launched from naval vessels, striking key Houthi positions on land. These attacks target critical infrastructure, including radars, air defenses, and missile and drone systems, aiming to weaken the Houthi ability to launch further strikes. These aircraft carriers can launch around 60 to 90 fighter jets. Once the targets are identified in Yemen, these F-18s are launched from the aircraft carrier. Before launch, the GPS navigation system is initially transferred from the aircraft, providing position and velocity vectors from the aircraft systems. Once released from the aircraft, the JDAM or JDAM-ER and pave-wave bombs autonomously navigate to the designated target coordinates. These weapons pack a punch, traveling around 45 miles, approximately 72 kilometers deep inside enemy territory with this converted kit, all at a fraction of the cost compared to these cruise missiles. These are suitable for stationary bunkers missile launch sites like the Mohit missile or the Soviet-era P-15. Interestingly, these dumb bombs, in its most accurate mode, the JDAM system, will yield a weapon's circular error probable of 5 meters or less during free flight when GPS data is available. It uses both GPS and can be laser-guided to the targets, especially effective against mobile assets. This weapon looks for the reflected energy of the laser and is dropped precisely, destroying the vehicle into pieces when hit. This is a nuclear submarine that can be positioned very close to the Yemeni shoreline. The submarine can stay submerged for almost 140 days waiting for targets many miles away and hit these launching pads. The reason for using this submarine is to target enemies that become mobile after firing rockets, typically after 2 hours or more. This strategy allows the slow-moving cruise missiles to reach its target much faster. That's why these submarines are stationed very close to the border. Now let's take a look at how it is fired from inside the submarine. The submarine will ascend to an assigned depth. When ready to launch, it will open the hatch, and the protective seal will break open. High-pressure compressed air is pumped into the tubes, and this is used to eject the Tomahawk missiles. The missile's tip will emerge above the water's surface. The rocket boosters fire and propel the missile into its path. Boosters fall off as soon as the missile is out of the water. Step number 6. The main engine of the Tomahawk missile will engage, and then it will open its wings, just like the animation shown here. It is at this stage the missile becomes a cruiser and flies towards the designated target and does pack a punch, destroying almost any launcher provided it's stationary. But the final wave are these F-18 multi-role fighter jets to deliver the precision-guided weapons on smaller targets, such as the AGM-88, or one of the most commonly used guided bombs, the Joint Direct Attack Munition. When uprated, it is referred to as a laser-guided JDAM. Breaking it down into smaller pieces, this is essentially a dumb bomb upgraded with a guidance kit, transforming it into a smart flying munition. But this is where the Houthi has the upper hand in what is called the Gate of Tears. Cargo ship must navigate through this narrow canal, a crucial waterway responsible for managing approximately 11% of global trade. This canal serves as a crucial choke point for international shipping, highlighting its pivotal role in international commerce and navigation. Ships from around the world traverse this strategic route, but the Houthis militants have exploited this waterway to attack shipping vessels. Now let's examine different scenarios of how they execute these attacks. If a ship is within 80 kilometers or 40 miles from land, which is the desired range, there is a possibility of the missile they would use to attack ships. A Soviet-era P-21 with solid booster and liquid fuel anti-ship missile, produced during the Cold War, is employed for the attacking mission. When launched, the first stage booster fires off for 2 to 3 seconds, after which the second stage takes off. It searches for a target using analog radar. When locked and ready, it can destroy a ship using a hollow-shaped charged warhead. This has the potential to either destroy or sink a cargo ship if it hits at the right angle. Scenario 2. This involves the use of a Soviet-era missile that was re-engineered by the Iranians, converting it into an anti-ship missile. The converted SA-2 missile can be launched from within 45 kilometers or 28 miles from the target. Take, for example, the U.S. destroyers sailing through the Red Sea. The Houthis forces fired 3 anti-ship ballistic missiles capable of traveling at a speed of Mach 3.5, along with 2 land attack cruise missiles in the southern Red Sea over a 10-hour period that commenced at approximately 6:30 in the morning on December 26. These actions create a psychological impact and disrupt trade routes. Fortunately, the U.S. destroyer's defense system kicks in and successfully destroys the incoming threats. As a result, there was no damage to ships in the area and no injuries were reported. For bigger ships or warships like the aircraft carriers or the U.S. destroyer Berkeley class, this is how they would have attacked. The first stage involves launching multiple drones to overwhelm the warship's defense system. In the second stage, a couple of Soviet-era anti-ship missiles like the P-15 or P-21 are launched. These missiles travel at a speed of Mach 0.95 and can pack a punch when hit. The third stage involves launching converted surface-to-air missiles into an anti-ship missile. These flies at a speed of around Mach 3.5, capable of seriously damaging a warship. We make original 4K 3D animation with a small team of animators, so please support us by subscribing and dropping in a comment for more exclusive engineering animations made just for you guys.